Hi, M2s. So before we start developing our skills drawing the mandala any further, we're going to get into uh, personal identity and exploring symbols with a theme. So first off, what is a symbol? A symbol is something used to represent something else. Symbols can be literal or metaphoric. Literal is the word we use when we mean exactly what we say, more of a fact, whereas metaphorical is what we say when we're making comparisons. An example of a metaphoric expression would be if we said it took 1,000,000 hours. That doesn't really mean it took 1,000,000 hours. That would be like years and years. What we mean is it just took a long time. Another example I like is it's 22 degrees outside. That would be literal. But if I said something like, it's as cold as the North Pole out there, that would be a metaphoric expression, meaning it's not really 100 degrees below zero like the North Pole, it's just really chilly. Okay, so more about literal symbols. Literal symbols are things that have a direct connection to something specific. This can include symbols like the recycling symbol, an ambulance sign, a caution sign. There's a couple more down there you probably recognize, like the symbol for mute or the symbol for music. These aren't open to interpretation. Uh, they're more set in what they are or mean. So everybody who sees these and understands exactly what they mean. They don't have different meanings for different people. Symbols as a metaphor. A metaphoric symbol is when something is used to represent something else. These types of symbols are not literal and more open to interpretation. The meaning of the symbol could change from person to person and from the context it is shown in, like where you see it. For example, gray clouds could represent they could represent sadness for some people or maybe calmness to others. A sunset could represent things like hope, calm, the end of something eventful, and much more depending on the person and the context. This picture always reminds me of the ending of the Indiana Jones movies. He always rides off into the sunset on his horse, kind of symbolizing a metaphor for the end of a epic journey or adventure, the ending of something. What is this shape a symbol of? You probably recognize this. This is a heart. Is your answer a literal symbol or a metaphoric symbol? Do we all see the same, or can our interpretations be different? Can something be both literal and metaphoric? This depends a lot on the context. Like, for example, if you saw this on a card, you might understand it as a symbol for love, like a Valentine. Or maybe if you saw this in the top right corner of your video game, you might recognize this as a symbol for health for your character or your player. So context um, means a lot. You can change the context, make the heart black, put a crack in it, put two sad people on it, and all of a sudden this heart might symbolize heartbreak or sadness. Or if there's an arrow flying through it, it might symbolize love, like Cupid's arrow. What are some real life things that we can use to represent things as a metaphor? Look at these four pictures. Take a minute and think about what they might symbolize to you. Pause the video, please. So, what do these things symbolize? Does anybody have any ideas? I'll let you pause the video and see what students can come up with. So, for me personally, the wolf on the left symbolizes leadership. Maybe the broken clock could symbolize a metaphor for clumsiness or poor time management or being late all the time. The tug of war on the top right, maybe that symbolizes competitiveness or competition or struggle. The boy jumping off the diving board into the pool, maybe that symbolizes fun or summertime. These are all metaphors. So our activity for today, you're going to create a mind map exploring your personal interests and identity. On one half of your sketchbook, list 4 to 6 personal interests. Under each list, 2 to 10 branches for this. You may also have sub-branches as well. For example, one of your interests might be cooking, and under cooking you have Thai food. And branches off of Thai food could be tom yum, lap mu, som tam. These are all Thai dishes that I like to cook. Look at your various lists and try to make connections. For example, maybe you have exercise as a branch and travel as a branch, and you can connect hiking to both of those. So put those next to each other or near each other on your mind map. I'll show you my mind map on the next slide in a second. Add small thumbnails to sketches symbolizing as many as you can. A thumbnail sketch is just a small little drawing that helps us to think visually, not super detailed but simple. Helps us understand how to draw something if we decide to do it bigger and in more detail. So this is my mind map of my personal interests. I started with these columns on the left: cooking, traveling, exercise and athletics, TV, art. These are all interests of mine. And then under these, I listed the branches and sub-branches. Here's the example I gave a minute ago. Under traveling, first I wrote down motorbike trips, but then I realized I also like to do car trips. So those are both sub-branches under road trips and hiking and backpacking and etc. So I started looking at these and making connections, and I began by branching these around the center, making connections and putting things next to each other where I could, like for example hiking and cycling, cooking Thai food connects to travel and cooking. Down here I have art, got some branches from art. TV, I like reality shows, specifically like Gold Rush and survival shows. After that I started adding in a lot of little thumbnail sketches for as many of these things as I could think of. Okay? So after you've done your mind map, you're going to need to choose 3 things that you think connect under a theme. I chose scuba diving, yoga, and gardening. Try to find 3 symbols that you like that connect in some metaphorical way and add them to each other, and write 3 to 5 sentences explaining how they tie together in this theme. Just FYI, these symbols will eventually be included in your mandala later in the unit. The theme is probably the most challenging part of this, trying to come up with something that's kind of a generic concept that ties a bunch of things together. So the examples I gave were mental health as a theme. I have a sketch of a tropical fish that symbolizes scuba diving, the Om symbol, which is basically mental connection of the universe, and a rough tomato plant symbolizes gardening. So scuba diving always gives me a similar sense of peaceful relaxation, as does yoga. I always feel mentally refreshed after I go diving because it's so quiet and peaceful under the sea. I feel like I'm floating around on another planet. I also find gardening to be very therapeutic in a similar sense. It gives me time to clear my mind and forget about any stresses in my life. So these all connect to the theme of mental health. Another example I have is teamwork. I got a little sketch of, these aren't in my mind map, but it's another example. I have a sketch of a basketball hoop, and a soccer ball. Basketball and soccer are both team sports, which help to build communication skills and a better understanding of empathy. These skills developed here are transferable, can help me in various other aspects of life whenever I'm working with others. So hopefully this all makes sense to you. This is going to go in your sketchbook, your black sketchbook, and eventually we'll take process pictures for our e-portfolios.